everybody, it's Ike, and who is that dude?
Larry.
We know who he is. And welcome to number 20, episode number 20. And
I think
we're going to keep
isn't
it different this time. That's 20. I think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 20.
Okay.
Let me double check, make sure I'm not lying. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, it's 20.
Okay.
It's number 20. So apparently what we've been doing with our format change in the last 4 or 5 episodes talking about the 411 mysteries, and 411 is just another way of saying people lost in the woods and never coming back. It's not as popular as the first probably 10 shows. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of my lack of cussing and just being more professional. Maybe I need to bring back the old Ike. But this could be the last show. We're thinking if this show's ratings don't go up a little bit, it's just a waste of time for all of us. If I want to talk to Larry, I can just call him up. I don't need to sit there and edit and post and upload and download and sideload and all that stuff. If we can just call each other and have the same conversation if nobody else is listening. The idea of this show was just to get people engaged in conversation out here and maybe, give you new ideas or something to think about, and also keep it kind of light and funny. It's not all serious. That didn't work. At the beginning, it worked. I mean, our first video had like 145 or 150 views. Huh? Now our viewers are down to about 10. So that tells me that 130 people.
10, thank you.
Yes, it tells me 130 people really don't care. They're like, this is, really don't care anymore. And maybe you're just way too busy doing whatever the hell you're doing that you can't squeeze out an hour while you're taking a crap listening to our show. But hey, that's you, not us.
Where's the old Ike?
We're going to talk about stuff. We're going to talk about something that popped in my mind last time me and Larry talked, and he's never heard of the Marfa lights. And it's another one of those old school things. Marfa, Texas, not to be confused with Martha. It's M-A-R-F-A, Mary, Adam, Robert, Frank, Adam, for you police officers out there. And it's a little crap hole town in Texas. And you want to say anything, Larry, before I read this little story here?
Oh, just to, really, I've enjoyed this. I would like to, wish we had more folks join us, but no, I'm good. Let's get on with the story here and see what we can decipher.
So here, I'm going to read the article, and I think it's, let me just read it. It says, for more than 135 years, people have reported strange lights above the horizon in Marfa, Texas. No one knows exactly what they are, and that's what makes them so captivating. Marfa's official slogan is tough to get to and tougher to explain. That's their town slogan. That's a good one, very original. Yeah, but once you get here, you get it. Fittingly, a series of strange events has transformed this tiny town in the middle of nowhere into a place like nowhere else. And keep in mind, I've heard about Marfa, Texas back in the early 80s. I'm like, but it gets better. I'm just not reading a little kid story. This gets better.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, no doubt.
So, 50 miles from the Mexican border and 200 miles from the nearest major airport, Marfa is a dusty dot of a town with one traffic light and fewer than 2,000 people in the remote reaches of far west Texas, known as El Desperado. Not Desperado, El Despolado, the uninhabited. Beyond the town's steel water tower, the Chihuahuan Desert unfurls towards the horizon in an endless expanse of cactus and scrubs. Scorched prairie and tangled tumbleweeds amid one of the U.S.'s last frontiers. It's very, very romantic. I forgot to mention rattlesnakes. Since the 1970s, and illegals. Amongst those scrubs and cactus that close to the border, there's going to be a bunch of illegals too. Since the 1970s, I cracked myself up on that one. Since the 1970s, a wave of hipsters, like AKA me probably, artists and urban transplants have blown in with the wind and turned this unassuming ranching town into an unlikely mecca. Today, Marfa is quickly on a collision course of saloons and espresso bars. Okay, well, it's like every town in New Mexico. New Mexico used to be full of charming little towns of, generational people there, and now they're full of art galleries and Californians. Hold on, I got to scroll down. I'm working on two computers here at the same time. So, but long before Marfa began attracting the unconventional, aka me, people were coming to witness the inexplicable for more than 135 years, and that's the key word to remember. That's the key thing to remember. For more than 135 years, mysterious glowing orbs have appeared here in the night sky, known as the Marfa Lights. These otherworldly wonders remain one of the most unexplained mysteries in the United States. And I've seen TV specials about it where scientists went out there and tried to do all kinds of weird stuff. And some say it's swamp gas, some say it's a neighborhood highway. So the first sighting was in 1883. You must have been about 2 then, Larry. When a young cowhand named Robert Reed Ellison saw a mysterious dancing light. Oh, sorry, my bad. Like I said, this cowhand saw a mysterious dancing light, and he was driving his cattle through the plains, and was so spooked he told everyone in town about it. See, they did see weird lights and UFOs back then. Since then, farmers, World War II servicemen, and high school sweethearts have reported seeing pulsating, colorful balls of light along an uninhabited stretch of the prairie, probably southeast of Marfa.
Have anything to do with mushrooms?
Could be. The actor James Dean was rumored to be obsessed with the lights, that he kept a telescope in his Marfa hotel room during the filming of the movie Giant, which was filmed in 1956. This also used to be, I think, a World War II training ground out there in that neighborhood. Today, on clear nights, as the sun sets, people from all over the world descend on the roadside Marfa Lights viewing area near this one-horse town and stare out across the desert scrubs towards the Shinati Mountains in hopes of catching a glimpse of this bizarre phenomenon. There's no way to predict when or where the lights will appear, but the glowing orbs generally form fewer than 30 times a year. It's not very often. Usually just after the sun sets or rises. So, if this only happens 30 times a year, it kind of rules out the neighborhood highway, wouldn't it?
I definitely would think so. I'm not much of an orb guy, as a lot of the folks in the field that know me realize, but when they're seen often by the naked eye, then I get interested. So this does interest me.
Well, these are also a little different than the average orb you've seen in ghost hunting movies. Little camera glitches, or these are actual lights out in the distance, which I personally have seen here in New Mexico many moons ago, coming home from work when I was a corrections officer. I was working graves. I was driving home. It was like 6 a.m. The sun hasn't come up yet, and off in the horizon to the east, there was 2 orange orbs, and they were doing some weird shit. And they were really far away, and they were just maybe just barely above the horizon, and they were moving in unconventional ways, enough to get my attention to where I stopped. I thought, what the heck is that? And there was just 2 orange balls of light dancing around, and it faded out. I don't know what the heck they were, but they do exist. And I don't really categorize those orbs. I don't think it's an orb. I think it's a orb, meaning circular, round. I mean, yeah, round, circular. But this is something out in the distance lighting up the neighborhood. So it's something different. So go ahead. Where you're just scratching there. Some say the lights are roughly the size of a basketball, which is pretty good, pretty big, and dart wildly across the desert or hover as they pulsate. That's kind of what the ones I've seen were doing. Others say the spheres appear colored as they twinkle in the distance. Sometimes they're red, other times they're blue, yellow, or white. Often a second orb will appear to split, merge, or float or melt into the first. Remember my UFO story out at the VLA, Very Large Array, where the bright light split into 2? Mm-hmm. I guess these things are doing the same thing.
I'll just take some notes here. Yes. People have seen these lights. Go ahead. I'll let you finish. I got some questions.
Not too much more, I don't think, unless I didn't get it all. So let's see where you are. The supernatural streaks are believed to be everything from UFOs to lost ghosts of Spanish conquistadors to distant car headlights. In fact, nobody is quite sure what they are or if they even exist at all. And that's kind of weird if they don't even exist at all. I mean, why would they build a viewing station and why would there so many people report it if they didn't exist at all? I mean, somebody's seeing something. Mm-hmm. Perhaps no one is more familiar with the Marfa lights than James Bunnell. The retired NASA aerospace engineer grew up in the area, attended Marfa High School, and returned in 2000 to witness a shocking light display for which I could find no reasonable explanation, as he said. So this is a NASA engineer who's seen this crap, and he said he couldn't explain it. Mm-hmm. During the 12 years, Bunnell set out on a scientific mission to investigate and solve the mysteries of the Marfa lights. He installed 10 wide spectrum and infrared cameras on neighboring ranches, poured through footage of lights, movements, and hopes to understand their patterns. And no patterns emerged, he said. 4 books later, Bunnell has a few theories involving how the Earth's underground friction produces an electromagnetic light show above the Marfa plains, but no definite evidence or proof that answers his original question, what the heck are these things? So yeah, he's thinking it's underground, like tectonic shifting going on. It's causing friction. And
let me interrupt you there because I don't want to forget this item. You're saying he's suggesting underground. You know, we had a whole show on ley lines and the fact that ley lines, what they were, what they weren't. But the one thing that I've come to find out is there are rivers or directional energies underneath the surface that surround the world. Could that be what this comes from?
Maybe. Like ball lightning. Yeah,
ball lightning, St. Elmo's fire. Now, do you see St. Elmo's fire, ball lightning out in the desert?
No.
It's usually seen near water.
Right. I've never heard of it on land, actually. I think it's always, well, though there's stories in Pennsylvania of balls of plasma and floating around, going through walls, and he's in some of these old farmhouses, and and a lot of these old Amish houses didn't even have electricity, so they didn't know what the heck. So I guess it could happen inland, but I've never heard of it called ball lightning. I mean, like I said, there's always weird lights in the desert, and that's a fact. I mean, you can be out in the middle of nowhere, and you can just be out there at night and look, and then you see a light, and you always have to wonder what the heck is that. And I'm not talking a light up in the sky like airplane or before. It's something that's on the horizon, where there's no roads or mountain.
Right now.
Anyway, you're looking at. There's one paragraph left. My parents and grandparents saw the lights. It's always been here, said 80-year-old R.E. West, whose family helped settle Marfa in the 1880s. So back in the 1880s, they've seen these dang things. I hope they never find out what they're about, because that's the mystery of life and the mystery of Marfa. So all this time, this has been going on for hundreds of years. Nobody has really figured out. I did some other research, and some scientists said, well, it's a highway off in the distance, and the way the light reflects. But wouldn't it be doing it all the time then? You could go out there and, why would it only happen 30 times a year? I don't know. Marfa. Let's all go to Marfa.
Yeah. Well, you have you ever heard of the Brown Mountain Lights in North Carolina?
I have, and it's a similar thing.
Yeah, it is. A lot of folks suggested it's swamp gas. I've been out there looking. I have not seen them yet, but my brother-in-law has. Now I'm looked up ball lightning, and I'm sounds like I'm a little bit corrected. Ball lightning, a rare phenomenon in the form of a luminous sphere that is generally several centimeters in diameter. It usually occurs near the ground during thunderstorms, in close association with cloud-to-ground lightning. So that's ball lightning. So I guess it's possible out there. When you saw the lights in New Mexico when you were logging, it was you said it was when you were coming home. Was the sun up at all yet?
No, I was actually going out, and this was probably 3:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, sometime in that. But it was way up in the sky, and it was a moving light. it moved with purpose. It wasn't just like a shimmery orb looking thing that you seen out in the distance. I mean, this thing was, picture a really bright star up in the sky that's coming towards you. That's kind of what that looked like.
Your experience in conjunction with what we're talking here with the Marfan lights, no chance it could be some sort of light source reflecting off the sand in the desert.
Not even close, because this was up in the sky, way up in the sky, almost above you. And no.
What about the Marfan lights? They seem to be lower, though, don't they?
Yeah, they dance around on the horizon. See, that's a whole different thing, and that's like the ones I seen coming home from work that one time from the prison. The orange ones. Those are on the horizon. Maybe 10 degrees above the horizon. That's why they're confused a lot of times with car headlights and stuff. Where I seen mine, there's no road out there. There's literally no road probably for 70, 80 miles across there. And the lights are in between that area somewhere. There's a mountain. Not really mountains, but big sand hills in between there. So there was no reason for those lights to be there. And other people have seen those too.
Well, a lot of people have, and that's one thing that I've harped on when it comes on my tours and whatnot. We're talking with folks about what the paranormal is and what it's not. To say that it doesn't occur is silly, because too many people from every walk of life have experienced them at some point. Not everybody, but folks from. So to say that it doesn't occur is kind of silly, because people are seeing something. The question is what it is. Now, another question I have for you, you desert dweller.
How dare you?
Well, I speak of the truth. Distance. Could the distance be deceiving? And what I'm getting at here is, you see the ball of light. It looks the size of a basketball. But could it actually be closer and look bigger? Or could it be bigger and farther away?
100%. 100%. That's what I've said about my UFO encounter out at the VLA. And once again, it's a very large array. It's where all the satellite dishes are. A bunch of movies were made there, Contact and all that stuff. That's where I've seen that unidentified flying thingy. But it's the same thing. It is pitch dark out there. I mean, there's nothing out there. There's no houses. There's no town. And it's the St. Augustine Valley. So there's no light pollution coming in from anywhere. It's just dark. And this was 3:30 in the morning. And when I stopped my truck and got out and turned the headlights off and the engine off, and my buddy behind me did the same thing, all you hear is crickets and pitch blackness and just a carpet of stars above you. Now, that thing that was coming at us, it split into two, and one came directly at us and the other one went behind us. And that's the first thing I thought of is, I wonder how far away that thing is. Is it way, way up there, 30,000 feet? Or is it 100 feet above me, and it's just really small? You cannot judge distance in pitch darkness out in the desert. You have no idea. If it's big, it could be really far away. If it's small, it could be really close. And we have another thing that happens out here a lot because of the dry heat. We have a lot of mirages, and it happens in the mornings. It's really cool because, especially in more of the flatter desert areas, you'd be driving along and you can see a whole new mountain range out there. And what it is, it's maybe a smaller mountain that's out in the distance, but the way the heat comes off of it and in between you and it can either look bigger or smaller or a whole different shape and size. It's fascinating. Sometimes you look at the hill like, I don't remember this hill, and then as you get closer, it goes away. There's tons of mirages out here in this hot summertime.
Interesting. Now, do you ever see an oasis in the middle of the desert? You ever see that kind of mirage, or is it only optical illusion type stuff?
I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's a movie thing, seeing an oasis, with palm trees and water in the desert, or if that's just wishful thinking because you're really thirsty.
I think there's been some evidence that it's the mind playing tricks on somebody that's in need of shelter, water, survival, whatever. Okay, let's go back to another question I have for you, and you didn't mention it in the article. And especially with a NASA scientist involved, I've got to wonder if there's a possibility that they've done this work. But weather conditions, for example, when we do a paranormal investigation, the one thing I do at the command center is I write down wind direction, temperature, humidity, barometer. Is it cloudy or sunny? And then I go into solar weather. What's the geomagnetic storm look like? Are there any coronal mass releases going on? All those things together to try and correlate events to natural phenomenon. I would like to know if in this particular case, anybody's done that. For example, when the balls are seen, do we have any data on what was the weather like? What was the temperature? What time of year? What was the solar weather like?
You would think any scientist worth his weight that's been out there and actually investigate this would have done that. I don't know if it's been published or I don't know. I haven't looked into it that far.
Well,
you would think that'd
because
be a
I
good
think
thing to do.
it would, because let's just say, for example, there are folks out there saying it's some sort of car lights or whatever. If you took data and you looked at it and you compared it, and out of 100 sightings over a 10-year period, you find that each time the weather, always happened in the winter. It always happened around this time of day.
Yeah.
The solar weather was similar. That would either confirm that it's a natural phenomenon, or lead to the belief that it's something supernatural or paranormal.
Totally.
So,
I don't
you
know.
folks that are out there in Marfan, hopefully you'll hear this, and somebody will start doing that type of experiments when they see the lights.
I need to
At
find out
least
where that
jot
place
some
is
of this
at.
down.
It says West Texas, so it can't be too far away from me.
That's what I kind of thought. Because how far are you from the Texas line?
About 200 miles.
Oh God, yeah, that's not that far at all.
Yeah, so it
Okay.
can't be. West Texas is Lubbock, Odessa, and all those places, which are really horrible places. No wonder there's lights over there. There's a reason all these Texans that live there come to New Mexico to do all their recreation, because there's
Okay.
that area of Texas is just, it's not a cool desert like Arizona with giant cactus and, hills poking out. And it's not a sandy desert like the Sahara. It's just flat, scrubby, uneventful, just ugly. Yeah, I said it.
Okay, well, yeah. But I love Texas. I do love Texas. I got to admit. Just had some people on a tour with me last night that are from Texas. Lovely folks. So
There's nice people in Texas, especially towards like San Antonio or Austin. A lot of German heritage over there.
these folks were from the Austin area, so that's interesting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Austin and San Antonio has become a mecca for Californians and Texans. I mean, Californians and New Yorkers. They're buying up everything over there.
What are your feelings on this phenomenon? You've actually experienced it. While I've seen some orbs I can't explain, I've never had this kind of experience. So what are your thoughts?
I'm going to still have to chalk it up as an unexplainable, most likely paranormal event, because I've seen orbs, many different orange orbs out here before at night, and many of us deputies have, that we couldn't explain, and they were always moving. I mean, there were lights in the sky that were just zipping around in orange colors, which weren't the same as like the Marfa lights, because those things just kind of sit on the horizon, which are the two I've seen coming home from work that time. But because of the vast openness we have out here, I'm 100% sure it wasn't a car light.
Right.
And there was no road because it was blocked by a mountain or a hill range. So I know it's not lights from off in the distance somewhere, a car or something like that. So what could possibly make those lights? And they move around quick enough to where it's not a person with a flashlight, or it's some kind of phenomenon. I don't know if it's caused from the ground, like the scientist here said, or the NASA guy said. But to me, if that was happening because of friction underground, it'd be happening all the time. It would be nothing new. It'd be like a lightning storm to us, like, oh, it's happening again. There's another freaking ball over there. Places like California just has earthquakes and ground shifting constantly. There'd be lights popping everywhere. It'd be nothing new. It'd be explainable, and people say, yeah, this is what it is. We would just accept it and move on.
Once again, going back to my thought a few minutes ago about documentation, it would be great if we found that he had documented and found that they occur in certain intervals, whether once every 3 months, on the middle of the month, or time of day, or something. I think that would help tremendously to prove or disprove what they think it might be.
I know he's not the only one that's looked into that, because I remember seeing like documentaries on it years ago. So I bet you if you just Googled, Marfa-like documentary or movie, I bet there's probably a ton of them out there with all kinds of scientists, all of them at their own theory of what's going on. Everybody's got a different explanation.
And that's where I'm going to go with this a little bit. Do they really want to know what's causing it? Because once they find out, and if they find that it is something natural, that destroys this legend, this event that keeps people interested and keeps people talking, maybe brings interest to the town or the area. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to know what it is.
Also, yeah, that has a lot to do with it because it's tourism. And I think a lot of scientists just rather say, well, I can't explain it because they don't want to commit. Because they look like idiots if they get proven wrong 2 years later. Like, you dumbass. Where'd you go to school at? You said it was this? Wow. And you got published? Whoa.
Hey, don't knock people that get published, okay?
Oh, no, that's the whole idea. Get published and educate. But a lot of these guys that publish and educate get proven wrong years later.
They're also worried about being proven wrong and having it as a black mark on their record. I get that. But I got to believe that if folks are seriously trying to study the matter, they've taken some steps to find some consistency, some pattern, some evidence. So that's just something that came up. Now, I'm going to go off base, if it's all right with you, for just a second.
You just bring
made me think. Okay, this made me think of something. The one thing I've noticed in reading about your part of the country, there's two things. First of all, there's a lot of abandoned towns, ghost towns, if you will, that folks are buying and refurbishing to make for tourist attractions. A. B. There are some ghost towns or abandoned towns, particularly up here, I think north of you in the Colorado, Wyoming area, that the United States Park Service or the National Geological Survey and the Department of Interior actually hire folks to come in during the off season, i.e. the winter, to kind of caretake these areas. Is there any connection between these types of phenomenons and these towns and ghost towns? The tourism end of it is where I'm going with this. Do you see a connection with any of this at all?
Not really, because most of the ghost towns, and I don't think there's that many in New Mexico. I mean, the ones that are owned are either national parks. I don't even think there's very many state-owned anything out here. A lot of them shy away from the whole mystery paranormal thing. The Taos Hum was maybe the closest thing I can think of, and Taos is not a small town. Because I think in their mind it hurts tourism, much like this national parks don't want to talk about the people they've lost and got killed in there. I don't think most people that buy these towns don't really want to, they're not on the paranormal angle. I think they'd rather sell it the other way around on history, like, come over and see where Billy the Kid plugged somebody, that kind of thing.
I grant you. I would disagree with that assumption based upon my experience, but I see where you're coming from with that. I just can't help but think, if this thing has been going back to the lights now, why haven't they done more to explain, disprove, or prove? Or if they have, why haven't they published it? Why isn't it out? Why aren't we talking about it? And does that have anything to do with tourism?
I think the reason it hasn't been officially explained or investigated, it probably has been. But I'm thinking, once again, I think the scientific world is still shunned upon when they talk about the paranormal or anything unusual like that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think if you just laid out $500,000 to get your degree, you probably don't want to go chasing around Marfa lights and look like an idiot out there when you could be solving all the world's problems. Scientists are a weird bunch. I've met many of them, and we live in, our state is full of scientists. Los Alamos has more scientists per capita than any other place in the country.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
absolutely.
A lot of them are extremely wacky. They are so concentrated on one thing that they forget basic living instincts like tying your shoes or maybe combing your hair. And that's a fact, that they are just obsessed with things. And scientists have always, not always, but a lot of times science is great. I mean, that's why we have modern medicine. But a lot of times they get proven wrong. I mean, humans will never fly. Humans will never exceed 60 miles an hour because it'll suck the air out of their lungs and they'll die. Those are all scientist published articles. And what happened
Wait,
there?
wait a minute. You mean if a human physically runs more than 60 miles an hour? I did not know that.
No, not runs, just travels. If a human travels faster than 60 miles an hour, the friction from the air will kill you. That was, who was that? I'll have to look it up. I can remember, but it's this quote from a scientist.
So
science always evolves. They're always learning new things. New things are coming to light, and things that were completely unthought of, or maybe just quackery 10 years ago. Suddenly it's like, well, wait a minute, there's something to this.
yeah, I mean, once again, hate to go off the road here, but so a fighter pilot ejects from his burning fighter doing Mach 0.5, which is what, about 350 miles an hour. He shoots up out of the cockpit.
Much more than that.
Okay, well, which it's more than 50 miles an hour. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So why doesn't that kill him? Why doesn't it kill him?
Oh, we've proved we can go faster than 60. And why doesn't it kill him? Well, we just had one eject 2 days ago. An F-35 crashed in Albuquerque. Yeah.
I did hear about that.
And he ejected, and he was, from what the news was saying, he was in really, really bad shape. And he wasn't doing, a Mach is 700 miles an hour. It's the speed of sound.
Right.
So he was probably doing more than 200 miles an hour. But ejection is never a good thing. I mean, very seldom do they walk away, dust themselves off, and like, good to go. Plus, they're wearing a helmet. They got their face shields down. They got Kevlar gloves on. They got padding in their clothing.
So what you're saying is they're protected. When they shoot out, they're protected. That's why the 60 miles an hour in wide open didn't kill them.
No.
That's interesting. It's interesting. I did not know that.
I don't think they can eject it at like really, really fast speeds. I mean, I think there's a limited ejection speed.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
Because I think it would just rip you. And the sheer wind force, if you were doing 1,000 miles an hour and eject it, I'm sure the wind would just rip you in half. Probably rip your limbs off.
I'm just being a pain in the butt and being, just being a pain in the butt asking about that. So move on, sir, with our lights.
Well, there's not much more about these lights except for nobody knows what the heck they are, and it's a mystery that's been going on. Partially or urban legend, but many, many, many people have seen them. And most people agree it's unexplainable, except for one person that says it's headlights. And I mean, if it was headlights, really, you don't have to be a scientist to stand there and look off into the horizon. I'm like, you dumbass, there's a freaking highway way out there, and those are headlights. Everybody be saying that. And it'd be happening more than 30 times a year. Although it is a Texas road, it could be sparsely traveled.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of urban legends, you showed me a video the other day that was pretty cool.
The Bigfoot?
Do you want to chat about that a little bit, or?
Yeah, well, I know nothing about it because I just got it yesterday, and I sent it to you right away. And I think I almost want to say I've seen this before. It may be an older Sasquatch type video, but it's a good one. If it's a fake, it is a really good one.
So I know we've talked a little bit about Sasquatch in the past, but it keeps popping up. I mean, since we've been doing this show, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, as you do, and it's amazing how often these things crop up. And this video is interesting, and just for the audience, let me give the name of it so they can look it up, or you may even have it faster than me. I don't know. There we go. Real by Bigfoot's testimony on Facebook. So real, REEL, by Bigfoot's, one word, testimony. It's on Facebook. And this particular picture shows a piece of crime scene tape going across it. Supposedly it was a crime scene. We don't know what that was. And it shows a very large bipedal hominid covered with hair tossing around logs like they're matchsticks.
That's the part that got me. I mean, that's hard to fake. And those logs, being an ex-logger, I can tell you logs are incredibly heavy. And the things he's tossing around are, the one he's throwing around, that's well over 1,000 pounds, and he's holding it at the end. So if you picture yourself picking up a sledgehammer and just grabbing the first 4 inches of the handle and holding it out in front of you, how heavy that would be. You're not grabbing it in the center to balance it. You're holding it at the end, and this critter is holding him at the end and just tossing him.
Right, yeah. It just came on now. One thing I'm looking at it is I saw a brief picture of it, and it looked to me to be a bear. Now, I am not an expert in bears. I did not spend time logging like you did. And my comment about it being a bear, you are saying can't be.
Not a bear. For bears don't toss around trees like that, and it's way too big for a bear.
Okay.
Yeah. It's clearly got, towards the end, you can clearly see it standing up and using its arms. Its upper arms. It's got long upper arms, and it's definitely not a bear. I've seen lots and lots of bears and bears. Yeah.
Maybe you can put this. Can you put this on a link on the show so folks can go back and take a look at it?
Not right now because I have it saved. I don't have it saved, and I don't know. It's actually, I think.
Yeah, but maybe.
I don't know I don't know if it's a TikTok video or if it's Facebook, but either or, you'd have to download it onto your device and then share it.
Mm-hmm. But just like the orbs, the lights, so many people have seen what they believe to be a Bigfoot. If you take out all the ones that are confirmed to be frauds, you still got a ton of people from every socioeconomic level on the planet are seeing this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we can't say it.
The world is full of mysteries.
So we can't say it doesn't exist. So what the hell is it? Come on, Dr. Ike, tell us.
My thoughts are still it's interdimensional critter. That's what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. It's something that can pop in and out, and it affects electronic devices. Okay. And that's the best explanation I have for it right now. And once again, it's what personally, your personal experiences that you haven't freaking conjured up in your brain. Like I said, when I first started logging, and the company I worked for, Leonard Jensen Logging, it's a legit company, and they came from Oregon, they went to Arizona, and then ended up in New Mexico and southern Colorado. And they're all brothers, they're Mormons, so it's a huge ass family. But one of the brothers started an outfit in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and I had to go down and pick up something for some. I can't remember what I was picking up, but they sent me down there to pick something up in Ruidoso, and I drove over there, and he invited me to his house. And there's a good-sized picture, probably about 15 inches wide and 15 inches. There's a big old square picture hanging on the wall, and it's deep snow with Sasquatch footprints in it. And this is like 1983 or 84. This is long before the Sasquatch craze really took off. And I look at it. I'm sitting there staring at it while he's getting whatever the hell he was going to give me. And he goes, "You like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." I'm like, "Is this real?" He goes, "100% real." And I'm like, "Where is this?" And he goes, "Up in Oregon." And I've told the story before, but they were logging up in Oregon, and next morning they came back to get, start logging again. He walks up to his equipment, and there's these tracks that are probably 19, 20 inches long, flat-footed with 5 toes, going around the skidder, which is a machine that picks up a log and drags it to the landing area. But the tracks go around the skidder, and then he said him and his I think he said nephew or cousin, one or two, but him and the other guy followed those tracks, and they went down a steep cliff, through an embankment, across a creek, up the other side. And he said they followed them for like 3/4 mile in deep snow. And he says, if this is a fake, this guy's crazy. Who would fake something like that? It's cold, it's snowy, they're in the middle of freaking nowhere. And he says they were 100% convinced that's what it was.
Well, once again, how do you call somebody that crazy? I mean, obviously somebody you knew, businessman, hardworking, for all intents and purposes, that leads a normal life and has normal thoughts. How do you explain that? Now, switching gears on you again, let's go back to the lights for a second. You think hominids, Bigfoot, interdimensional. Could these lights be interdimensional?
Yes, often they go hand in hand. There's been many Bigfoot sightings, and afterwards there'd be orange orbs or orbs in the sky, or there were orbs in the sky prior to a sighting. A lot of times it's like everything lines up. Weird lights in the sky, anomalies on the ground as all the birds stop singing, the forest gets quiet, Sasquatch sighting or rocks being thrown at you, maybe apparitions. All of that stuff, all that paranormal stuff seems to be all melt into one big ball eventually. It always seems the same. A haunted house, suddenly it got quiet. I got cold, and then there's an apparition or there's an EVP. You're out in the woods. All the birds stopped singing, got quiet, and then this freaking tree got thrown at me. There seems to be a pattern here.
So, taking this a step further, wouldn't it be great to either prove or disprove or see if there's a connection? If there was a way we had a database where we could look at all the events that happened during a 6-month period and see if any of them happened at the same time.
Right.
Maybe somebody, go ahead.
As I've gotten older, I've come to
You are old.
conclusion that nobody really cares. I mean, there's individuals like us that care, very minded. You want to have a catalog of absolute facts, of evidence and stuff. But in the big picture, that's your stuff, and everybody else is going to look at it and say it's all bullshit. It's fake. Nobody really cares. There's no scientists out there that evolve, that get 100% involved and they say we're going to crack this nut. Because if he does, who's going to care? It'll be a news blurb, at the 6 o'clock news. Scientists just figured out what this is, and then it'll go away. I don't think people care anymore. They're too busy with their phones, their computers. They don't care.
Yeah. Well, I think it's actually a little bit darker than that. I do agree that it's because a lot of people don't care. Although I think a UFO landing and the occupants coming out and waving and
that would definitely change
talking,
something.
that would change something. But I also think, and I can really, really talk only about the ghost side of it. I don't like using that term necessarily, but I don't know the better way to break it up. It isn't so much they don't care as they don't want to find out what it is, because their ticket to fame and to their bank account is getting out here and talking about it. So they don't want to prove it. They don't want to believe that they're wrong and the other person might be right. So this is all my stuff and I'm claiming this is correct. I'm not sharing with you, nor am I discussing it with you, trying to come up with a
You're starting to sound like me now.
See the influence you have on me? So I think it's more than just they don't care. I think people are making a buck off of it, and people are not wanting to share because they don't want anybody to rain on their parade. I went to a classic example. I went to a convention years ago, and they had a panel of folks that you could come in. If you're just a ghost hunter, you could come in. Here's my evidence. What do you guys think? I sat up there and listened to this panel, not suggest, well, did you do it this way? Maybe this would help. It's, no, that's wrong. Nope, that's wrong. Mine's right. Yours is wrong.
Ego-driven.
And I'm starting to come to the conclusion, because as you well know, because you were helping me with it, I tried to create a repository of evidence that we could all look at it and compare. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a rat's behind. So I think that is more so along the lines of, you're not going to, I do it my way and I'm going to be right. You're not going to tell me how to do it, nor will I listen to any other ideas, because the way I do it is just fine. Well, hopefully this won't be our last show, but it's up to you all out there. If you want to hear more of us bantering and talking, get involved. Tell us what you think. Let us know that you're watching. Leave some comments.
Yep. We need to have 35 views or more. And like I said, this is episode number 20. So if you want to see 21, 35 views or more. And if you want to continue seeing this guy, wait for it. If you want to continue seeing this guy's lovely face on YouTube, 35 views or more.
I'm my best publicist. You know that?
He's a celebrity in Florida, people. He's a published author in Florida. He was over there with Hemingway.
Well, I'm as old. Some say I'm as old as Hemingway, but
Hemingway spent some time in New Mexico.
Well, I'm hoping to do that soon. So
yes,
I'm hoping to do that myself.
That'd be great. September is a wonderful time of year in New Mexico. It's probably my favorite. September and October is my favorite time in New Mexico.
Okay.
Because nights are getting cool. The smell of green chili, which you people have no concept of, is floating through the air.
No, but I've eaten Deb's cooking, and that gets me wanting to come back. So.
Yeah. So anything else?
Right.
Should we talk about anything else? Are we done?
Yeah, I'm done for today. We've solved enough of the world's problems, I think.
I think we have. We didn't solve the Marfa lights, even which we'd like to have solved, but we didn't. We didn't solve the Bigfoot video. If you can find it, like Larry gave you the address. If not, you could probably just Google Bigfoot throwing around logs at a crime scene. I'm sure it'll pop up.
Exactly.
Check that video out. It's pretty interesting. It's one of the better ones I've seen. If it's fake, it's a really good fake. So,
all right. Then.
Anyway, we'll see you guys hopefully next time. We'll see.
Yep. All right.
If not, it's been fun. Bye.
Bye.